Welcome to Wellness Talk. I am George Batista, your host and your wellness advocate, as always. Wellness Talk is a show that goes over the latest in health and healing, nutrition, supplements. We take the mystery out of supplements, we take the mystery out of health, and we give you tools, tips, and tricks you can use to live a healthier life. Glad you guys could be with me today and hope you guys had a great week. GeorgeBatista.com, as always, has all the articles that we go over, and we post them pretty much each week. And make sure you follow it as much as you can because there's really a lot of cool stuff coming and a lot of great articles that we're putting on there all the time. And so there's going to be a lot more hard-hitting stuff that's going to be going on there as well. So make sure you follow that. Also, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to wherever you're listening to the podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or whatever it is you're listening to. But make sure that you subscribe to us so you won't miss out on all the information that we go over, because it's very important. And also, Wellness Talk is brought to you by Wellness Resources, which is a 35-year-old supplement company that is on the forefront of clinical nutrition. So make sure you check them out at myvitaminresource.com. It's the supplements that I recommend on this show. You guys know that already, those of you who follow us. And by the way, if you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping on all orders. So make sure you take advantage of that. And by the way, they have some great sales this month on a lot of the brain supplements and brain health supplements. So make sure you check those out as well. All right, so let's go over what we're going to talk about this week. So last week, we talked a little bit about toxicity. We talked about glyphosate and how to detox and different news and new news on glyphosate and stuff like that. So we're going to be kind of piggybacking a little bit on that. But this time, we're going to be talking about a different compound. This one is on fluoride. So we're going to talk about, and again, this is from Wellness Resources, fluoride affects brain health in children, fertility, and thyroid function. So very important stuff. This is new research on fluoride. So make sure you check this out, because I think this is going to be very important for you because, obviously in the last few years, you've heard a lot about fluoride. There's a lot of campaigns against fluoride, and they're still discovering new things that fluoride can be damaging to as far as health goes. So we're going to talk about that. Then also we're going to talk about how fluoride affects teenagers with kidney function problems, or kidney disease. So again, this is brand new research. This is from fluoridealert.org, and it's reduced kidney function leads to fluoride accumulation in the blood. And they studied teenagers in this, but this can apply to anyone that has a kidney issue. So we'll talk about that. Then talking about brain health, this is from Christine Ruggieri from Natural News. It's a study on benefits of cranberries for brain health. So again, brand new information, more information. We've talked about cranberries before on this show and all the beneficial things that they do. But again, this is a recent study on this and how cranberries are still being studied and still benefiting people cognitively. So we'll go over that. Then our nutrient spotlight for the week, we're going to talk about Wellness Resources iodine. It's actually called iosol iodine. It's a different iodine than what a lot of supplement companies use. And we're going to talk about why you should be using this type of iodine, why it's important, especially when we're talking about fluoride exposure, and how it comes and what's in it and what's not in it. So we'll go over that. And then finally, just an article that came across very recently, and I put it up on GeorgeBatista.com. It's 1 in 5 kids now obese, and how Big Pharma, it's setting its sights on this to be a $50 billion market for weight loss drugs. So I'm going to touch on that just a little bit, and because I think it's very, very important for parents out there, whether you're parents to be or whether you're already parents with young ones, these are things you should be paying attention to. So that's what we have on tap for this week. So it's a lot of information. Let's get started. Okay, so first, from Wellness Resources, fluoride affects brain health in children, fertility, and thyroid function. So let's talk a little bit about fluoride. And a lot of people don't know actually a lot of information about fluoride. Now, fluoride is a trace mineral naturally found in the soils, foods, and water supply. Okay. In general, it's also beverages, legumes, potatoes, grains, cereal products, root vegetables, all contain certain concentrations of fluorides, some more than others. Okay. Beverages made with fluorinated tap water often contain the highest amounts of fluoride. But dietary sources of fluoride include things like black tea, grape juice, sodas, shrimp, fruit flavored water, sweeteners, wine, coffee, tap water, raisins. I mean, you name it. The list goes on and on. Now, fluoride has been added to the water supply in much of the United States since 1945 for the prevention of dental cavities. Now, think about this, for example. So fluoride is known to, I mean, it is true. Fluoride is known to harden and keep teeth harden and stuff like that. But the issue is, they put it in the tap water. So the idea would be that when you're drinking the water, it's going to pass by your teeth and keep them hard. I mean, say what you will about it. I mean, it's, think about the concept of it, but at the same time, there's damage that comes along with it, and they're finding it more and more. There's more and more damage as the years have gone by that they realized that fluoride causes. Now, it is added to many dental care products like toothpaste and mouth rinses and dental treatments, right? You go to the dentist, a lot of the dentists, unless they're a holistic dentist, they pretty much use fluoride, okay? But it has been banned or restricted in other countries. So the United States is one of the few countries that actually still uses it. But other countries have realized that that it can be harmful, and a lot of countries have banned it. Go figure, right? Now, infants and children retain about 80 to 90% of ingested fluoride, whereas adults retain 50 to 60%. Now, this is where the latest studies come in, because in July 2022, a Canadian study presented concerns and findings about preschool age children who lived in areas with higher fluoride exposure. And the study results showed that children that had lower iodine intake with high fluoride intake had lower IQ scores. So think about it. They had lower iodine intake, they had higher fluoride intake. Therefore, they found that they had their IQ tests, so their IQ scores were a lot lower. Okay. Now, boys who had adequate iodine intake, even with high fluoride exposure, experienced less neurotoxicity. Now, why is that? Because iodine actually is very, very powerful when it comes to fluoride, and we're going to go over that in a second. Okay. But in a different 2021 study, children ages 7 to 12 in China underwent several tests of fluoride levels and thyroid measurements. Thyroid enlargement was noted in boys with higher fluoride levels and low iodine status. Okay. Now, why is this? Here's a couple of things. First of all, we know that the human body needs iodine, especially iodine is really, really significant when it comes to growth, right? When it comes to a baby's growth, when it comes to a child's growth, iodine is absolutely imperative in the growth, in the cognitive area, okay, in brain development and IQ and all those types of things. Iodine is absolutely essential for that. Okay, so iodine and fluoride have similar chemical structures now, and they can bind to the same receptor sites in the thyroid gland, the gonads, and everywhere else in the body. So fluoride is bigger and heavier than iodine as far as chemical structure goes. So it competes against iodine and actually will occupy receptor sites meant for iodine when you don't have enough iodine in the body. Okay. So when you have this competition between iodine and fluoride, if you have less iodine, you have more fluoride, the fluoride is going to win out. It's pretty much that simple. Okay. Now, fluoride exposure is associated with higher levels of thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, and we talked about thyroid on the previous shows, okay, and lower levels of T4 and T3, which are the main thyroid hormones, which can reflect a sluggish thyroid, okay. And now fluoride blocks enzymes that are related with iodine function. And activation can also block iodine uptake in the thyroid gland. Okay, very, very significant. Now, fluoride's endocrine disrupting effects may affect sex hormones and also fertility. Now, it was found that men living in a fluoride polluted area had lower testosterone levels and significantly higher levels of what's called luteinizing hormone compared to the control group. Now, just so you know what luteinizing hormone is, it's a hormone that's actually involved in basically in hormone production, or like, for example, for a woman, it's involved in her production when it comes to menstruation and that type of thing. Okay. And but luteinizing hormone is released by the brain to signal the ovaries and or the testes in hormone production. So, and luteinizing hormone surge happens prior to ovulation in women. So men have luteinizing hormone surges that stimulate the testes to make testosterone. So that's one of the signals that actually starts the testosterone making process. Okay. So they concluded that fluoride's endocrine disruptive effects on male reproduction may be more severe than the effects on women. So think about that. Okay. Men are having actually more of an effect than women do. This can lead to obviously things like low sperm counts and, all these different types of things that men can go through. So that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Now, how does fluoride affect other brain effects and mitochondrial dysfunction? Rats exposed to fluoride during pregnancy or early infancy experience slower spatial learning, difficulty with short and long-term memory, depression, and anxiety tendencies. Males were also more prone to hyperactive behaviors. And fluoride was also found to cross into the hippocampus, where it caused neurological irritation and dysfunction. And this part of the brain is involved with memory, learning, and emotions. Okay, so fluoride can actually really, really, make a big issue when it comes to memory and spatial learning. Okay, now the fluoride battle. Okay, so the National Toxicology Program has published multiple extensive literature reviews on the effects of fluoride. They are moderately confident, and this is I'm quoting here. They says moderately confident in the association between fluoride exposure and negative neurodevelopment impacts on IQ, cognitive abilities, and mood and mental development in children. Okay, so very, very, very important stuff. So, how does iodine fall into this? So, iodine is crucial and it's critical to bind into iodine receptor sites before fluoride jumps in. So this is why you need iodine. You need enough iodine, and iodine needs to jump in before the fluoride actually gets in there, or else this is where you start having the problems. So many individuals on low salt diets, maybe you use a lot of sea salt. Okay, your iodine status may be a lot lower. Okay, or iodine status is critical for women and men in family planning stages as well. Okay, but it can affect all ages. So it's important that you make sure that you keep your iodine levels optimal. Okay, so now, how do we keep our iodine levels up? So obviously salt is one. Now you hear this whole campaign against salt. I'm not a person that is anti-salt unless you are specifically salt sensitive, but not everybody is. But using salt responsibly can be a good thing. Okay, but again, they've started taking iodine out of salt many years ago. And, obviously you have all these alternatives, Himalayan salt and sea salt, which are good. I'm not saying those are, those great, they contain minerals and that type of thing. But again, it does reduce iodine, and iodine is critical. So how do you get iodine? One of the best ways to get iodine, you can supplement with it. Okay. Especially if you're dealing with a thyroid issue or you want to support thyroid function. So I would suggest, again, you could take a look at Wellness Resources iodine supplement. And while we're here, I might as well do the nutrient spotlight for the week, which is the Iosol iodine, which is Wellness Resources iodine. It's an excellent water soluble iodine supplement, and it can be used by children and adults. Okay. And One of the reasons why it's so good, first of all, iosol iodine, and it's actually spelled IOSOL iodine. It's a proprietary iodine formulated that it's been in use actually since 1945. Okay, and the reason why it's really really good, it's because it's really it has a superior water solubility, and it makes it very readily available for your body to use. Now, there are two sources of iodine in the iosol formulation. One is from kelp, and iodine in kelp is naturally in the form of potassium iodide. However, potassium iodide is not very soluble in water and may be difficult for your body to use. Now, and sometimes they've actually shown that potassium iodide can actually congest the thyroid gland when taken in high doses. And that's actually how they found Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It was discovered by a Japanese doctor who, with citizens, because they were citizens that were consuming too much of the potassium iodide, and their thyroid gland was getting congested. Okay, with too many sea vegetables, basically, that's what was going on. So, the iosol iodine that Wellness Resources uses comes in dropper form, and you could basically put it into a drink, whatever your drink is, and just drink it up, and you're good to go. Okay. So it's used very easily by the body. So again, I would suggest to those of you who want to take a look at a really, really good iodine, iosol iodine, fantastic. Go to myvitaminresource.com, take a look at that, and I think you will find that it works very, very well. And again, you're not having as much of the problems that potassium iodide may cause. And not only in different types of supplements, because most other supplement companies make potassium iodide and stuff, that type of thing, but it has been known to cause problems. So check it out. And again, just other tips as far as if you want to avoid fluoride in general. Obviously, you get it in your toothpaste, so they do sell toothpaste that do not contain fluoride. Those of you who are really really into health and the health products, you probably know where to get those, but you can get those at a lot of health food stores that also sell different types of products like that. But check it out. But obviously filter your water. Make sure you get a good water filter that filters out the fluoride, again, with the toothpaste, and try to just do as much as you can to avoid fluoride in general, and then make sure you're getting enough of the iodine, especially, and this is the big thing, especially if you're looking to have children, or if you're pregnant, make sure you're getting enough iodine, because that iodine is so important to the child's development, neurological development, extremely, extremely important. So make sure you check that out. Okay. Next, reduced kidney function leads to fluoride accumulation in blood. This is from fluoridealert.org. This was an analysis of the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey between 2013 and 2016, and it found that teenagers who suffer reduced kidney function accumulate more fluoride in their blood. Now, these were the authors from Beth Israel Hospital in Boston and the Harvard School of Public Health. This is from June 7th. Now, I'm quoting here. This is what they say. Our findings suggest that renal function influences the degree to which plasma fluoride levels increase in relation to levels of drinking water fluoridation found widely in the United States. While the observed associations were modest, with a 0.11 micromole per liter difference in fluoride plasma concentrations between the highest and lowest quartile of renal function, the healthy and young nature of the study sample may underestimate the levels of fluoride accumulation among the many millions of Americans with chronic kidney disease. Okay, so think about it. There's an estimated 20 million Americans that actually have chronic kidney disease. So they found the fluoridation would be the highest in those with severe kidney disease. So basically, their study found that again, it was specifically teenagers, but they found that their levels of fluoride were the highest where they had kidney problems. Okay, there's a lot more studies that need to be done when it comes to this, they say in this article, but this is something to be aware of. A lot of people have kidney issues and kidney problems. So those of you, again, who are suffering from any kind of kidney issues, do your best to try to avoid fluoride. Do the tips that I talked about in the previous article as much as you can. And this way, and also, if you can, chelate as much as possible to try to get rid of some of that fluoride, or detox as much as you can. Obviously, if you have kidney issues, you talk to your doctor and work with your doctor when it comes to whatever you can do when it comes to detoxing or anything like that, because obviously it can be hard on the kidneys depending on what you're doing. So obviously you always talk to your doctor first, but just something to think about, those of you who are dealing with any kind of kidney issues. Okay, next, let's talk about cranberries. This is, again, out of Natural News. Christine Ruggeri. The study highlights benefits of cranberries for brain health. Now, a recent study evaluated cranberries for brain health shows that daily consumption can improve memory in older adults, likely because of its high flavonoid content. Now, this was a 12-week parallel randomized placebo-controlled trial of freeze-dried cranberry powder published in Frontiers in Nutrition, and they evaluated the impact of cranberries on cognitive function and neural functioning in older adults. 60 adults between 50 and 80 years old consumed what's the equivalent of one small cup of cranberries daily for 12 weeks. After the trial period, researchers observed improvements in visual episodic memory and neural functioning in participants compared to placebo, and a significant decrease in LDL cholesterol during the course of intervention. And the dosage used in the trial was roughly 100 grams of fresh cranberries, or 1 cup, and was calculated to provide 281 milligrams of proanthocyanins with an increase of 20 milligrams flavanols and 59 milligrams of anthocyanins per day. So you have these two flavonoids, okay, and we've talked about them at tons of times on this show, those of you who have listened to this show. You have the anthocyanins and the proanthocyanins, right? And now the anthocyanins are a group of powerful antioxidants that fight the effects of aging by reducing oxidative stress, or what we call oxidation, right? Or reactive oxygen species, ROS, okay? Then we have proanthocyanins, which are found in grapeseed and cranberry, and they've demonstrated neuroprotectant and antioxidant effects in animal studies. Now, this is one of those big reasons why you want to get as many of those dark colored berries, right? The dark grapes, or the dark blueberries, or the raspberries, the cranberries, all those types of things have very powerful antioxidants in them, right? Now, obviously you can get cranberries, freeze-dried cranberries. There's all different types of cranberries. You have cranberry apple cider vinegar. There's cranberry sauce with pecans. You can put cranberries in your salad. I love cranberries in my salad, by the way. It gives it a nice little flavor to it. I'm not a big cranberry fan, just eating them by themselves, but I like them in something. So in a salad is great. There's even cranberry salsa, and obviously those of you who eat cranberries for Thanksgiving, a lot of people make cranberry sauce in Thanksgiving. It's great stuff. But again, think about it. Boosting your antioxidant level with cranberries. This is just great information, brand new information on the studies of cranberries and how it's great for your brain health and a lowered LDL cholesterol. Think about that. Who would have thought that it would actually have actually lowered LDL cholesterol? If you think about the statins and you think about everything people are doing to try to lower LDL cholesterol, and eating cranberries for 12 weeks, that's what it did for these folks. So, go figure. But just a thought for you folks to check out. Cranberries, very good for your health, very good for your brain. All right. And finally, just wanted to talk about this quick article. And this was from the Defender. And it's the article's titled, "With 1 in 5 kids now obese, Big Pharma, sets sights on $50 billion market for weight loss drugs." And this is a new analysis of nationwide health survey that found that 1 in 5 children in the U.S. is obese. 1 in 5. Think about that for a second, okay? So it's 22% of U.S. children between the ages of 2 and 5 and 12 and 19 are obese, compared to 18% a decade ago, according to a new analysis of nationwide health survey data. That means that 1 in 5 kids are now obese. Now, the analysis found that only the children from ages 6 to 11 were exempt from the weight gain, which is very interesting because that's kind of that's where they're in the process where they're starting to hit the puberty, right? But it's Dr. Michelle Perro, who they've quoted in this article. And by the way, I had Dr. Perro on this show and counterparts. If you want to take a look at the interview I did with her, go back to the archives because we did a fantastic interview on children's health and parental health, and as far as when parents want to become or people want to become parents and have children and what they should do. Fantastic interview. So make sure you check that out. But she says that once again, our attention turns to one of the most tenacious and steadily increasing health crisis in children. The new statistics on pediatric obesity come from a survey conducted at Louisiana State University's Pennington Biomedical Research Center. And scientists at the center analyzed data from almost 15,000 U.S. children and teens from 2010 through to 2020 to reach their conclusions. And the obesity rate in boys rose to 21% from 18%, and in girls it rose to 21% from 17% a decade ago. Now, what's alarming about this is that these data were all collected prior to the COVID pandemic. And other data published recently show that kids are gaining, obviously. Now, this was prior to COVID. So think about that now you have the pandemic going on and all the kids are staying home. They're not running around. They're not exercising. They're staying home and they're on computers all day. Weight gain goes through the roof, right? Well, obviously with the other stuff too. Depression goes through the roof. Everything goes through the roof. But this is scary. This is scary stuff, okay? And then, of course, now we have Big Pharma that's going to jump in on this as always, right? Because there was an analysis at Morgan Stanley Research told clients that drug makers Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are poised to unlock a global obesity market that could be worth more than $50 billion by the end of the decade. Okay. And who's going to be the target? These obese kids. Okay. It's unbelievable. So, if you really think about it, think about when you were a kid, especially if you're in an older generation, right? I think about when I was a kid. You're talking about growing up in the 70s and 80s. When I came home, this was obviously pre-internet. This was pre-really cool games, 13 channels on TV. What did I do? I came home, and it was funny because I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and behind my apartment building was a park, and the school was beyond that. So all I had to do was walk home, literally a block away. And I would come home, I would do my homework, and I would try to do my homework as quickly as possible. Why? Because I knew that the neighborhood kids were going to be in that park playing ball. And I'm a huge baseball fan. So what I did was I raced through my homework, which is probably why I was an average student. But I raced through my homework and I ran out there, got my glove, and went through that fence because there was a hole in the fence. And I would go in there and we would play ball all afternoon or all, towards the evening until dinner time, until my mother, called me for dinner. And that's what I did. We did that maybe 3 days a week, probably after school. And I got to know the neighborhood kids. They were all from different parts of the neighborhood, but we all got together. We played, we argued about who's safe and who was out. We ran like crazy. We were sweaty. But it was great. And then on the weekends, I played ball with my uncles. I wasn't sitting there playing video games. I did watch TV programs when I was bored, but for the most part, I was outside playing. Kids these days are not doing that. Kids these days what are they doing? They're on TikTok. They're playing their video games. They're watching, Netflix all day. They're not outside. And that's the sad part. This is the sad part. Now you couple that inactivity, obviously, with what the garbage that's in the food, right? The fructose and the amount of processed foods kids are eating. Of course, we're going to have an obesity epidemic. It's not rocket science. It's not. So, we have to really look out for our kids, and one of the things that I've done, and I have a 15-year-old now, and it's funny, my 15-year-old, listen, she's into sports now. Dad was into sports. I have a picture of myself actually with her when she was like 3 years old, holding a wiffle ball bat. And I'm showing her how the proper batting stance. Okay. Because why? I felt that she needs to be exposed to sports, exposed to physical activity. I wasn't going to force it on her, but I wanted to expose her to it so she knows there's competition, there's healthy competition. There's there's this whole thing about being out there and playing and running and having fun with your friends and all that type of thing instead of sitting home. Yeah, she sits home and does her, she's on social media and that type of thing, but she's got a balance. She loves to be out there because she plays two sports. She plays basketball and she plays softball. And she loves doing it. She loves doing it. And if I tell her, Jordan, let's go work on your basketball, we'll go out there and we'll shoot some hoops outside in the yard, or we'll throw the ball around. And, you get not only her running around and the skill of her playing ball, but you get the father-daughter connection, right? It's that connection of, me and dad are playing ball and I'm showing her, throwing her the ground balls, throwing her the fly balls. This is what we need to be doing as parents. Okay. This is what we need to do. Not having these kids at home eating garbage and sitting there, in their rooms and doing nothing. So my suggestion, and again, this is just food for thought for you parents out there, whether you're parents of young children or whether you want to become parents, start them off early, playing ball, running outside, running around, throwing the ball with them. I know as parents, sometimes we're tired. We've gotten home tired. We're exhausted from a day's work. We don't want to do it. But you know what? I would rather do that and have my daughter running around and me throwing a ball with her than having her overweight and sickly, and then eventually having to go to the hospital or having to go to the doctor's office. And then, of course, the doctor says, well, she needs to be on a diabetes medication and all this nonsense. Okay. So again, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but we really need to take care of our kids. So get your kids active, get them involved in sports, get them running around with the neighborhood kids, get them, throw the ball with them, get them running around the backyard, do whatever you need to do to get them active. Bring them to the gym with you, exercise at home, have them, run around the apartment if you have to. Okay. Sometimes we have, I have a black lab. Sometimes we have fun just chasing the lab around the house. It gives us exercise, right? I chase them around the yard sometimes for just extra exercise. But, again, we were always active when I was a kid, and kids need activity. And at the same time, it gives them that connection with friends, that connection with the parents, that connection with family. So you get the best of both worlds. So just my 2 cents on this, because you don't want pharma controlling what your kids take in. You don't want big pharma, because that's what they're going to be targeting. Those are your kids are the ones that they're going to be targeting for these pills and all these things. And you don't want your kids living on this stuff till they're old and, dealing with, because it just gets worse. Doesn't get better. It just gets worse. Okay. So stress the importance of nutrition as much as you can. Stress the importance of exercise, having fun, playing sports, activity, just a well-rounded lifestyle. And I guarantee you will be glad that you did, because that's what we did. We're not perfect by any means. We're not perfect, but we stress the importance. And my daughter loves to exercise, and I didn't force her to, by the way. She just loves it, but she sees the example, right? Your kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. So they will watch the examples. You have to set that example. So just again, my 2 cents when I saw this article, just really, really sad that 1 in 5 kids are dealing with this, but I really hope that parents out there can help their kids and themselves take responsibility for their health and do it together, because that's the best way to do it. All right. So anyway, thank you for joining me this week. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Hope you take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you next time. Always take control of your health.